Hi everyone. So let's continue our discussion of um, political theory. So for this time, we will be starting our discussion with the ancient Greek political theories. And let's take a look at the life or the philosophy of Socrates. He is considered to be the father of Western philosophy, and he mainly talked about morality and the soul. Okay. Our objectives for this session is to examine the evolution of Western political philosophy. So, at the end of the lesson, you should also be able to identify and explain the legacy of Socrates, relate the teachings of Socrates in resolving today's social issues. Okay. All right. So, who is Socrates? Okay. He lived during the golden age of Athens, meaning he lived uh, during the period where Athens is famous for its wealth and power. Okay. He was also proclaimed as the wisest man in Athens by the Oracle of Delphi. So someone went to the prophet of Delphi and he asked the prophet, who is the wisest man in Athens? He was interested to know who could be the wisest man in Athens. The answer of the oracle or the prophet was Socrates, okay, being the wisest man in Athens. So he was known for questioning the values and the teachings of the sophists because his teaching is quite contrary to that of the sophists. Okay, who are the sophists? They served as teachers to the aristocratic families, so they earn money. They earn quite a huge amount of money, okay, by serving as teachers to the aristocratic families. So these families would employ teachers who would teach their children, okay, uh, the principles of success, okay, how to be successful, not just principles of success, but they would educate these children. Okay, so this was founded by Protagoras. Okay, and success for the sophists. Okay, this is their teaching. Success is the possession of wealth, fame, and power. So you will be considered successful if you possess wealth, fame, and power. Yun yung teaching nila. We have carried that idea up to this day. Okay, we consider most of us would consider someone to be very successful or to be successful when he's got a good amount of wealth. He's also powerful and famous. Okay, all right. So if we compare the teaching of Sophists and Socrates, okay, for the Sophists, well, they teach how to attain wealth, fame, and power. For Socrates, he was talking about moral goodness, was talking about the soul. Okay, what will you do to make your soul healthy? Naturally, you should be pursuing for him wisdom. You should be practicing goodness. Right. So for the sophist naman, they are not concentrating on moral goodness. You may do uh, actions. They may not be necessarily good. Okay, you can do actions like that, actions that are necessary good, as long as you, so in the pursuit of wealth, fame, and power, that's acceptable. Okay. Uh, they are also teaching uh, rhetoric, persuasive speech. Okay. So oratory skills, okay, to be able to attain, to acquire wealth, fame, and power, you should be good at speaking also. Okay, should be good at argument. You must have that convincing power through your speech. Okay, yun yung concentration naman na tinuturo ng mga sophists. Okay, and of course they for you to be able to do that, dapat democratic yung system. Okay, yung sistema. So for Socrates, his make dialectic siya. Questioning. Okay? You should be questioning, uh, not just accepting knowledge, not just accepting what is being taught to you, but you should also learn to question in order to arrive at a specific wisdom or knowledge or answer. Okay, so for him also, he concentrated on teaching justice, truth, okay, on the acquisition of wisdom. Okay, you should search for wisdom. Okay, you should uh, uh, do things that would make you acquire self-knowledge. Right? Yun yung kay Socrates. Okay? So, for him also, there is only one God. So, this is quite contrary to the system of Athens. Okay? Because Athens before believed in the gods. They have many gods. Okay? You have the Olympians, they believe in the Olympians. They have Zeus, Hera, meron silang Poseidon, meron silang sino pa? Hades, okay? Meron silang the goddess of beauty. Anong tawag sa kanya? I forgot. But they quite believe in many gods. For Socrates, ang monotheistic siya. Isa lang ang God. Okay? Although he never explicitly mentioned kung sino, but he said that there is this meron siyang divine being who is speaking into his inner being and which he also follows. Okay? So, aside from that, medyo nag-clash siya with the Athenians because the Athenians believe in many gods. Okay? For him, merong God uh, who's yung knowledge, yung wisdom now ng human being is not comparable to the wisdom of that God. Okay? Now, he also believed that the soul is the most important part of life. Okay? It's not fame, it's not wealth, but that you should be nurturing your soul. Okay? And if your soul is in search of wealth, fame, and power, it becomes weak, sickly, and therefore you become ignorant. Okay? So for him, you nurture your soul when you seek goodness, when you practice goodness, and when you seek wisdom. That's how you nurture and make your soul healthy. Eh, iba ang teaching. Ito yung teaching niya. So naturally, the sophists and the follower of the sophists would raise their brows kasi they've been teaching they are teaching how to attain wealth, fame, and power. Ito si Socrates, sasabihin niya, no, when you do that, your soul becomes sickly. So you see how his teaching clashed with that of the Athenians. All right, so for him, true wisdom comes to each of us when we realize how little we understand about life, ourselves, and the world around us. Okay, so we have wisdom when we realize that we accept that we have very little understanding of our life, of ourselves, and the world around us. You do not have wisdom if you think that you are wise, but in reality, okay, you are not really wise. So when you accept that you are not really wise, you have little understanding, okay, and you seek for more wisdom, then okay, you will be wise. Or how to have a healthy soul. Seek goodness, truth, justice, and self-knowledge in order not to be ignorant. Magiging ignorant ka, okay, if you're seeking fame, wealth, and power, okay? But if you do not like to be ignorant, you should seek goodness, truth, justice, and self-knowledge. Okay? And then you spend your life examining and criticizing yourself in order to have a strong soul. Okay? Para sa kanya, the unexamined life is not worth living. Okay? So, in order for your life to be worth living, what will you do? You should examine your self. You criticize yourself. Okay? All right. So Socrates is teaching on morality. Okay? For him, all wrongdoings is due to ignorance of what is good. You commit wrongdoings because you are ignorant. You do not know what is good. Therefore, you should seek goodness. You should you should search for what is good. Okay? And for Socrates also, the will of the majority is not necessarily a good method. Para sa kanya, decisions should be logical and defensible. Hindi ibig sabihin na yung will ng majority, yun na yung tama. Yung kagustuhan ng nakakarami ay yun na yung tama. So, hindi siya good method for Socrates. Dapat, decisions should be made, okay, by those who are really in a good position to do so, who are skilled to make the decisions. And those decisions should be logical and defensible. Ang sistema kasi sa Athens before is that they were exercising direct democracy. So, every year, there would be a certain number, 500 if I'm not mistaken, of citizens who will gather in an assembly, and they can serve as judges. They can make decisions on cases. Okay, they would vote, so majority wins, and they can make laws. They serve as the legislative and the uh, judiciary. Right? So, question na naman ulit yon ni Socrates. Sabi niya, yung will, yung decision, yung will ng majority, yung kagustuhan ng majority, that's not necessarily a good method. What if they only made their decision out of emotions? So so sabi niya, dapat when we make our decisions, they should be logical and defensible. We do not rely on the will of the majority because that's not necessarily a good method of making decisions. Okay? O, di lalo nakahanap siya ng kalaban niya. Alright, so here are some of his influences. The Socratic method, the way of questioning. You question and you question and you question, you answer, you question, you answer until you arrive at a specific answer or a conclusion. Yan yung tinatawag nating dialectic method. Yun yung tinuturo niya sa mga young people ng Athens before. Do not just accept what is being taught to you by your teachers. You should also know how to question, how to examine, cross-examine. Okay? So you investigate and solve problems through questioning. Yun yung turo niya sa mga young people ng Athens. Kaya siya nasabihan na, oh, you are poisoning the minds of the youth. Okay? Yun yung isang accusation sa kanya. Okay? So he influenced the youth of his time to question values and the sophists' teaching. Okay? Question values. Is this right? Is this good? Ganon. Okay? Socrates crimes. What are the accusation? Yung crimes daw na nagawa niya. So, lacking respect for the city's gods. Kasi nga, parang hindi siya naniniwala or he don't respect the gods of the Athenians because he only believed in one God. Okay? So, aside from that, poisoning the minds of the youth because he was teaching them principles about morality, about the soul, okay, about seeking self-knowledge, and by that you will need to question, right? So with these crimes, he was found guilty, and the penalty was death. So he was made to drink a poison called hemlock. So ininom niya yon, and it slowly crept into his body until hindi na siya makahinga at makapagsalita. Okay? All right. This is your activity. Identify major social problems today and come up with a recommendation or solution using the ideas of Socrates. His idea about seeking wisdom, his idea about goodness, his idea about the soul. Ano kaya ang pwedeng ma-resolve nung idea niyang yon? Okay, if you look into the problems that we have in the society, okay, marami tayong societal problems. Okay. Now, list the thoughts of Socrates that are still prevalent in today's society. Ano yung mga nakikita nyo na na-apply pa ngayon? Okay? You give specific examples. Okay? Do we still see the teaching of Socrates about goodness? Do we still see that teaching of Socrates about cross-examination, about seeking wisdom, about the soul? So think about those things and then you give specific examples. Okay, so I'll see you in our next discussion.